Simio, I don't even know, say I mute myself. All right. Can you guys hear me? All right. Welcome to church. As the economy don't go, road must stop. All right. Okay. Can you hear me now? Hello. Oh yeah, now congregation, where I did. Now let me go to sing. Better. Now I know say I don't come. Welcome. You know, I'm going to try to do something these days. I'll try my best, not dumb down my language really, but maybe I'll start another portion where we'll go to knock for pidgin. Maybe we'll go knock Yoruba small. I not sabi Igbo, Hausa, so and I not go vex. Maybe one or two proverbs in those things, but we have to start talking in languages that all of us can understand. So we still have to wait for the others. So we got 5 minutes of Yabis. So I was thinking to myself, what would I talk about today? Yeah, I know the idiots at National Broadcasting Commission, those ones, I've given their matter to the lawyers. I'll let lawyers handle that their own. I'm not answering those ones. And I don't want us to waste time talking about those ones. But I was thinking there is something that keeps popping to mind in recent times. And what is this thing? It's a Yoruba proverb. And then it became a song. And it goes, Otito lo male keiro. I'm sure you've heard it before. Otito lo male keiro. I don't like doing translations. So what I would do is I would interpret. It means that the truth will always prevail, shall always prevail. That is the nature of truth. It prevails. It prevails because time never runs out of the truth. Time never runs out on the truth. The truth prevails at all time. And the things that have been happening in our space in recent times aptly illustrates that it's not just a Yoruba aphorism now, it's not a Yoruba proverb, it's a universal truth. Because I'm sure that you will find that same proverb in each and every one of our indigenous languages. Because it even translates to English directly. You don't even need to transfer metaphors or imageries for the English because they also have it right there. The truth prevails always. I'm sure there must be a Latin maxim somewhere that says much exactly the same thing. So that got me thinking, and I began to wonder if this thing we call truth wins always. Could it be that we're the ones who constantly misunderstand what truth actually is? Because embedded in every truth is God. The truth is God. Actually, any prophecy that does not have the truth embedded in it becomes the wishes of men. But when you declare the truth of God, because it is true at the point of your declaration, understand this. One, you are not the first person to declare that truth in time. So your declaration of that truth is merely a recognition of a portion of God that you are blessed to see. So at all times, regardless of the persons involved, regardless of how powerful they might be, the truth prevails always. Somebody dug up a copy of the Source magazine dating back to the 4th of October, 1999, 25 years ago. The question of who our president is, these questions were always around. But men of power either blinded themselves to that truth or ignored the truth. If they had faced up to the truth at the time, the trajectory of the Nigerian state might have differed. In fact, definitely would have differed because they wouldn't have been an octopus in Lagos for the last 25 years. That's just the truth. Our refusal as a people to tell the truth. Gani was telling us all 25 years ago, Nigerians found reasons to lie to themselves, to not do the right thing. The truth Gani was telling our lawyer 25 years ago that you refused to heed is what is biting everybody in the ass today. Imagine what will happen in 25 years' time when you would have refused to heed today's truth as well. But again, I remember, Mama, you are padao. Nothing you do changes the truth. It is immortal. The truth is God. God is truth. You might not like the mirror I hold in front of you. You might even dislike the image you see in the mirror. Patrick Wilmot, I believe it was, that said it best. If I show you a mirror and you do not like the image in the mirror, cutting my hand will not change the image in the mirror. Breaking the mirror will not change the image in the mirror. And by the way, I didn't call him a career criminal. You all heard what you wanted to hear. Go listen to that video again. You all heard what you wanted to hear. So that was the abyss. It's 10 o'clock now. Let's get down to the business of the day. And what is the business of the day? I want to talk about the imperative of the Nigerian revolution. Or shall I say, the imperatives. But you know me already. If we are going to be discussing any subject, it is critical that we properly define them. What is a revolution? I have spent time, I'm sure that I must have about 5 hours of lecture time, either on YouTube or on my website, where I've taken time to define what a revolution is. This is important because we are in an age where, we live in an age right now where the truth has become subjective. So it is important that when you use any word, you take the time to explain it, place it in context very carefully so that mischief makers might not turn around and then begin to ascribe to you what you had not said in order to advance their own agenda, or perhaps to give a dog a bad name in order to hang it. Before the DSS and all those who might be foolish enough to think they can hang me with some stupid charge, let me be clear. I mean a revolution in the true sense of the word revolution, but I have no violence to preach to anybody. What is a revolution? Revolution comes from the French word revolver, which means to turn around. Nigeria is traveling in a direction that suggests that infamy awaits us as a nation or as a country, because we are not a nation, we're a collection of nations. But infamy, implosion awaits us if we continue driving in the direction that we are currently traveling. So, this is a moment where every person of good conscience in Nigeria must understand very clearly that there is a urgent need for a turnaround. A turnaround. You're traveling towards a cliff, and there is a need to turn around. That is the revolution. Revolving door. Remember that? This is to make it easy for idiots. I'm sorry, I'm not calling any of you, my conscious viewers, idiots. I'm simply saying that mischief makers and those who deliberately want to twist my words might be seeking to make it mean what they want it to mean. My word means turn around. The imperatives of a Nigerian turn around. The direction we're traveling is sick. It's taking us nowhere. I'll use an anecdote that Baba Ogunlano shared with me in my conversation with him this morning. Baba was telling me of a journey. He was coming back to Lagos from Oyo, where he went to visit the old man. And himself and his brother were together, and he had occasion to ask the brother, who built this road? That's Lagos-Ibadan Expressway. They spent maybe about an hour and just a little over an hour between Ibadan and Lagos, because most portion of the road had been built or rebuilt. The brother answered, of course, men built it. How long did it take them? 20 years. It took them 20 years to build a road that it probably took the military under Obasanjo and, I believe it was under Obasanjo's government. Muritala and Obasanjo, it took them about 3 years to construct Lagos-Ibadan Expressway, but it's taken 20 years, not to build a new road, but to relay the asphalt. That is what has happened to us as a people. 20 years of civilian rule, it took us to resurface a road, an existing road. Jakonde built Lekki-Ekpe Expressway in 4 years. He built the coastal road, at least the Akodo, up to, I believe, just after the campaign. He built that one within the same time. It has taken the builder of Lagos, the bricklayer of Lagos, has taken over 16 years with his team to resurface the road even after they stole it. That is an idea of the kind of things that we need to do to turn around. So when I speak about turn around, that is what I mean. The imperatives of a Nigerian turn around. So what do I mean by imperative? Imperative talks to the urgent need, the critical importance of doing something. So if we might deconstruct, it then means the critical and urgent need, importance of turning Nigeria around. I am a Nigerian, unfortunately or fortunately, depending on how you want to look at your own circumstances as well. If you're listening to me, you're a Nigerian too. Whether you're in the diaspora or you're here in Nigeria, you're a Nigerian. And if you're in the diaspora, it becomes even more painful for you because you're torn away from the land of your birth or the land of your origin. God wasn't stupid when he made you a Nigerian. And I'm not saying Nigerian because you love Nigeria, but he made you one of the victims of the space called Nigeria. So you are invested in the process of seeing that place become all it can be or should be. So it becomes of critical importance that we fix the problems that we can all see clearly if what happened to those who failed to fix it will not be happening to us. So why the urgency? Why the urgency and importance of a revolution in Nigeria, of a turnaround in Nigeria? I think it is critical that we as a people examine where we are. Because without a clear understanding of where we are, it becomes that much more difficult to understand the importance, the urgency, or even the need for that turnaround. A lot of people today will tell you we are in El Dorado, we have democracy, we should be happy, elections are over, we should move on, we should do this. But it is critical that we know where we are. Where are we? We're in a place where Nigeria is telling those who should be citizens very loudly, very clearly, that they are not. Why would I say this? Yorubas will say that if you do not know where you're coming from or where you're going, you should at least know where you're coming from. How did we get here? Like I said, there are several hours of videos explaining the need for this revolution, and I don't want to dwell too much, but it is important that we understand how we got here. In 2020, about this time, a lot of young men and women got out onto the streets of Nigeria, largely tired of their country, the way it's treating them, but it wasn't expressed in the desire to end the system of injustice. It was designed to deal with the excesses, specifically of the Nigerian police force. So they got together. The like of me knew nothing of them. I was looking on from afar because I've always had a very healthy skepticism governing my engagement with the Nigerian state. So I was watching, and those who were following me at that time will remember that I had that a point. young men, women, what are you doing? Are you prepping for a revolution or what are you doing? Because their demands became ever more and more demands for a revolution. They were asking for things that the system was incapable of delivering on. So it was becoming clearer to me as I was watching that they were going to be logged into a system, into a confrontation with the system from which there will be no back down from either party. And I knew, as at that time, the exact response of unconscionable states and powers, such as the one in which we live. I won variously. We all know how the NSAS ended. Now that NSAS ended, some of us invested our strength, our time, our energy. We began to engage with the Nigerian youth, urging them to avoid violence of all type. And we said to them, let the focus be on the democratic process leading to the desired change. So we invested time and energy. Organizations such as EI, Enough is Enough, a lot of individuals invested their time, their energy, the likes of Yele. A lot of people spend time waking up the consciousness of the youth. Banky W, Baga, Macaroni, what's this man's name now? Basketball. A lot of people came out, Basketball, Bovi, a lot of conscious Nigerian entertainers got involved. People were urged to go and register to vote. We spent time, considerable time, getting them reacquainted with the electoral process. Nigerian youth turned out in record numbers across the length and breadth of Nigeria. And they were registering to vote. We were reconnecting them with the electoral process because for the like of me, it was the only way I could envisage a change devoid of conflict. It is in the human nature to demand freedom, to demand justice. And Nigeria is not structured to offer either of those two. It's not structured to offer equity. It's not structured to offer justice, to offer fairness. The way it is structured, it is already designed to be a modern feudal state. I could see that from when I was a youth, and I recognized the futility of protests within such a system. You only protest to those who hear you. There is no point in protesting to the person who has willfully and deliberately blocked his ears. When you're dealing with a system that is unrepentantly evil, you must come to the point of understanding that that system is structured to do exactly what it is doing. It is only when you come to the knowledge of this that you can begin to deal with Nigeria the way you ought to deal with Nigeria. Nigeria, as is currently structured, is not structured to work for those who should be citizens, but are in truth victims. Buhari was there for 8 years. The Fulanis were the largest victims of Nigeria. The people of Kankara, most people in Zamfara, half of Zamfara, or maybe a little less, the Fulanis. The place is torn apart by war because of mineral resources. Everywhere you find mineral resources in Nigeria, there is war because there are contending forces beyond the state taking the benefit of what should belong to all. When they cannot bring it, or when they do not desire to bring it to the central port to be shared by all of the thieves together, they create militias in a place, and that becomes the de facto governor of that place. And they take the resources and leave the people with the misery and the suffering. That has been the lot of the Nigerian throughout the entirety of my lifetime. So I saw this, and I believe that the only way this could be changed peacefully is to reconnect the people to the electoral process. And that was what we started doing. Enough of you became reconnected to the electoral process as to make it impossible for what used to happen, the apathy, in the midst of the apathy, the electoral disconnect. They could declare any result. They could buy votes in sufficient numbers to determine outcome. So it was a fair fight as between the two contending forces who had shared Nigeria more or less into enterprise and fiefdoms. So by 2023, yeah, enough of you had become awakened. Enough of Nigeria's disadvantage that coalesced together. Number one of the myths that was destroyed in the midst of the 2023 election was the myth of the North. There is no North, there is no South, there is no West, there is no East. There are peoples, and there are enough disadvantaged Nigerians to build a majority to change the system. That was what happened in 2023. Enough of you coalesced together to destroy the old perception of a Nigeria where some people owns Nigeria. What you did was a revolution. That was what you achieved. You achieved a turnaround. But what happened? The system coalesced to defy our collective will. Now, when an electoral revolution is destroyed by the will of the beneficiaries of the existing system, the first thing you do is you recall that you were told, the courts are the last refuge of the common man. Yeah. That's as it should be. The court, the last refuge of the common man. But the interesting thing in our own case was that the thieves were bold to tell us, go to court. And they knew what they were saying. They clearly understood exactly what they were saying. Go to court. But of course, if we had failed to go to court and we had taken to the street in protest, the Nigerian state would have been overjoyed. So those of you in the obedient movement or our friends, our orange wearing friends who think that we were stupid, we should have taken to the street. If it was Mr. Lagbaja or Mr. Tenedu, the street would have been awash with protest. I was one of those, in conjunction with many others, who urged, do not take to the street. They say, go to court. Let us go to court. So we went to the court. I didn't go to the court believing that we'll get justice in the court, but it was critical that on the path to that peaceful revolution that Nigeria must have, your hope in the illusion of justice being found within our judiciary had to be dashed by the judiciary itself. Me telling you or anyone else telling you wouldn't have made the impact it should. The judiciary had to willfully, in the public space, unveil itself so that Nigerians might properly recognize it for what it is. I will leave you to determine what the Nigerian judiciary is. The Supreme Court, oh, sorry, did I say court? No, Supreme Court, not court. The Supreme Court should be ruling on the subject, it should be bringing its judgment, and it should be easier for everyone all around the world to know whether our courts are court of justices. And don't worry, this is not an attempt to use social media to pressurize you. I already have my own opinion, and my opinion is out there. It's backed by fact. If anybody is interested in challenging the basis of my assertion of a loss of confidence in the Supreme Court's capacity to deliver justice, challenge me to prove it, and I'll prove it happily. So that's a direct challenge to anyone who is arguing that I didn't insult. I stated the fact. I have no confidence in the capacity of our courts, particularly the Supreme Court, to deliver justice. Those were my words, under the headship of our current GSC. I'll leave that at that. But it is important that you come to the knowledge of the fact that our system is completely lost because the last hope of the common man has been compromised. You might want to go and find Obaseki's, as the governor of Edo State, his recent vituperations in relation to the National Assembly election. I remember seeing it somewhere where he said people are waiting for courts to declare them elected. Unfortunately, that is where we have come as a people. Our democracy might now as well be called judiciary, because it is the judiciary that is creating governors now, creating senators. But Kachua did give us an inkling. So when you talk about where we are is a place where our will as a people no longer counts. If we could witness INEC brazenly subverting our will in spite of all the promises related to beavers, and then we could hear our courts telling us that everything that was promised by INEC, that all the laws do not matter, then it should be suggesting to us that by 2027, we should not bother to come out to vote or register to vote. There will be no point if the court itself has legitimized the electoral heist. The reality of the matter is that the current constitutional order would have been grounded to a halt because our rights as citizens would have been legislated away, and then the legislation of our rights, the exertion of our rights would then have been confirmed by the courts. It simply means that the law is whatever the court declares that the law is. It does not matter anymore what the people want. We would have become confirmed slaves in our own country. This is where we are today. That Alhaji Atiku Abubakar is fighting his old friend, and they are busy helping us to further clarify issues. These are things that we should be happy about. We should be very, very happy for the clarity that we are gaining, even as we go closer to the Supreme Court's judgment. Because it is not just, it is the judgment, it is a judgment of many things in Nigeria that the Supreme Court will be pronouncing. But as we go closer to that day, be careful to watch out for one thing. A lot of people will try to help you change the narrative and make you believe that things are not the way it is, that maybe if you let things go, be clear. If you let things go, you've normalized evil. Nigeria will live with the contradictions. The people will suffer for it. Things will become even more lost than it is. The danger of acceptance and normalization of this situation should be writ clear for every conscious being who is still able to understand consequences. 25 years ago, men found the grace to be quiet about the evil with which we battle today. 25 years ago, Gani warned. He told you all. Those who should have talked kept quiet. They found reasons to keep quiet. 25 years later, this is where we are. But more importantly, and over and beyond Bola Ahmed Tinubu, or the man or woman known as Bola Ahmed Tinubu, there is the effect on the society itself. And what is the effect on the society? The loss of accountability. Bola Ahmed Tinubu's election or selection is the height of the loss of accountability, but it's not the beginning, and it's not the only one. Once you accept the Bola Ahmed Tinubu's presidency, you've accepted that nothing will happen to Ponde. Remember that one that was fainting in the National Assembly? That's the end of that case. Once you accept Bola Ahmed Tinubu, That's the end of Adisirika and all that here Nigerian nonsense, all that fraudulence. That's the end of it. That's the last you would ever hear of it. The chairman of their party, in a show of shamelessness, that's the one that was stuffing dollars and into his babariga and cap. And yet, you have people in prison for stealing food. What kind of society would we have become when you know that what you have in high offices are thieves? What you have in high offices are forgers of documents. I'm no saint because I've heard this thrown in my face. You will never hear me come to preach to you about morality in your private space. That's your business. But when it affects the society, when all of us as a collective will pay for your own crimes, it behooves us to say no. Where is the accountability if the ultimate evil in the public space sits in your highest office? Where is the accountability? In reality, you should free all prisoners in Nigeria, in Nigerian prisons, except you can't even say except they've killed or robbed, because what have they done that those in public offices have not done? Exactly what have they done? That is where we've gotten to as a society. You are saying to the world, to the children, because children do not learn by your protestations, they learn by your examples. Everywhere you turn, your Senate president, the one sat in the presidency, your governors, if they are not telling you they've done time somewhere or they have proven cases, proven. I'm not saying that somebody who has committed a crime should not live again, but those should not be the people propped up in public office, and then you have people serving time for stealing pittances, for misdemeanors. Where is the place of accountability in a place governed by impunity? It means that laws do not matter anymore. How can we build in the 20th? Are we in the 21st or 22nd century now? Only God even knows. We don't know. But this is the 2020s. How can we be building a society where the law does not matter? To enthrone one man, it's not about one man. I'm deliberately using that. To enthrone one man, that's what you think. But it is not about one man. That one man, regardless of his lies about his age, you can see clearly he's an old man. I do not wish him dead. Regardless of what anybody might say, I do not hate him. It is his deeds. Their deeds. It is what they do, the effect, the ruination of the country. Why should it take 20 years to rebuild Lagos-Ibadan Expressway? Why should it take 16 years for the bricklayer of Lagos and his gang to rebuild Lekki-Epe Expressway? Why? And we are applauding. And men of God and women of God, pastors, imams, Oloro, all of them, they are busy clapping that this is the peak of human achievement, and they travel outside this country and they are beneficiaries. But you, the victims, you need to recognize the need, urgent need. Unite yourselves and then prepare to turn around. I know that if you can afford the data and you're watching me, you're what would in most countries of the world you're largely what in most countries of the world would pass for the middle class. It is the job of that class to educate the people, awaken the people. But you've become completely existential. They've used poverty to attack our consciousness to the point where the need is lost on us because we are too busy surviving. That class needs to wake up, because I see someone asking, what do we do? You all know the problem, but what do we do? the first thing you need to do is unite. Even if you are a secessionist, you need to understand that in this moment, we need to first of all win our freedom as a people before you can gain the right to live. So this tendency to weaken ourselves by dividing ourselves when we have common enemies, it needs to come down. First thing, unite yourselves. When you've united yourselves, understand very clearly. Even the Agbado people, if they know the truth, they'll turn around. You have to find points of engagement, if you find them, to explain the common interest in turning around. If we go to the streets the way we are, divided, the system would use our divisions against us to ensure that nothing happens. Let me show you one. They were hoping that we'll go on the street after February. You know why? What would have happened? The same levels of destruction that the state engaged during NSAS would have been engaged. And that would have been the levels that said, okay, our Igbo ni, that is the Igbos that are causing the problem. So the like of that one that was carrying cutlass, chasing people around at Alausa, Osha, whatever they call him, they would have unleashed them. And they have myriads of them. They would have unleashed them to go looting under police protection. This is what they've always done, so that they will now turn it into a Igbo Yoruba thing, attack the economic base. And they were already doing that, if you remember. They were already burning markets in the lead up to the gubernatorial election. This was what they were hoping for. The refusal to go to court and to go to the streets has afforded us the time to further unite ourselves, to allow them to also make all the errors they are making, to allow, for instance, now, how could we have guessed what Atiku would have dredged up? But look what Atiku has dredged up. We have not even begun to open and unveil all that and interpret it, in spite of their multiple narratives, purchased presenters, purchased influencers. We have not finished unpacking that, and you are already seeing very clearly that is becoming clearer and clearer by the day that this cannot be sustained. But it is the plan for the day after that matters. First thing, unite yourselves. When we are united as a people, we can now sit back if we've agreed that there is a need to turn around. Because if you remember, my subject for today is very clear. The imperatives of the Nigerian Revolution, the critical importance of the Nigerian Revolution, the critical importance of the Nigerian turnaround. I laid out how this could be done. I wrote an entire book on it. It's called The Imperatives of the Nigerian Revolution. I'm not selling you no books. It's been available for free download for almost 2 years. It's on dailyfireultimate.com. You can download it for free. My friend, Taiwo Akinlami, man of peace, not like me. I was born with a warring spirit, but he's a man of peace. And in spite of the fact that I have a warring spirit, I do not desire bloodshed. Never have. I'm not a man of violence, but I will not accept injustice. Taiwo, on the other hand, is a student of peaceful revolutions. He's a student of Gandhi without Gandhi's racism. And what Taiwo did was to write an entire section laying out the path to a peaceful revolution. Our options are not constricted. We have sit-at-homes. But for you to ask anybody to sit at home, you must have adequately explained the issues to them. We have symbolic protests. To do this, you must equally have educated the people. I do not presume to have a monopoly of knowledge. The only thing I can tell you very clearly is that we are logged into unsustainable trajectories. And if we persist on this path, most definitely, Nigeria will implode. It cannot, no country can be built on impunity. And when the court of law fails to uphold justice, the confidence of the people becomes completely lost. The voices preaching violence gains traction when hope is lost. And what is happening right now is that those voices are gaining traction even though they are quiet, because the system that should have addressed the feelings of injustice have been compromised to the point where confidence in the ability of the court to act as the last hope of the common man has been completely undermined. But there is no action that succeeds without unity. I will call out a lot of our friends who, for various reasons, believe themselves incapable of supporting the obedient movement, because the obedient movement is not about Peter Obi. I repeat that. It is not about Peter Obi. It's about Nigeria. It's about us. It's about the disadvantaged, the disinherited of Nigeria across the length and breadth of Nigeria, demanding that Nigeria must work for them. They must be accorded the right of citizens, and they must be treated as citizens. Citizens cannot exist in a space not ruled or governed by law. Nigeria, as it is, has become a place ungoverned by law. It is governed by impunity, crass impunity. Impunity is not necessarily a bad thing if it is anchored to vision. However much the West might seek to demonize North Korea, impunity, the will of one man or a family, a dynasty, a ruling clique, has propelled what they would prefer to call a third world country into a nuclear power. That is what vision does. So impunity does not necessarily mean perversion. And perversion is what impunity has bred in Nigeria, because it is not anchored to vision. That's why they are consumptive, and all they think about are base pleasures, nothing visionary. They were reconstructing a road. I believe that road was commissioned before them Shagari came. That road, they were resurfacing it. Vision did not tell them to expand it. Before it was built, before they are not off the construction site, is already obsolete. That's the kind of thing impunity without vision births. It took them all of about 16 years to build what they are crowing is a blue rail. Please, there is a urgent need to turn around. We cannot continue along our current trajectories. What I have done is to tell you my own truth. Gani told you, and I'm nowhere near the man he was. Gani told you 25 years ago. You didn't listen. Gani is dead now. I'll be dead someday. You will be too. And don't worry, each and every one of those who wish me dead, I may go right on our obituary. But let's be clear. What we do becomes part of the fabric of the country we are building. And if we fail to build that country on justice and equity, it will disintegrate, if not in our lifetime, certainly when we are gone. And we would be responsible for whatever becomes of Nigeria. I've said my piece. Those of you who still want to go to church, I hope you are going to places where they preach the truth. I've done my bit. Kolanat will send you the link to our church account. You can send your tithe and offering. Let's look forward to what the FBI and all the allied agencies have for us. You know, it's one day, one joke in our country, Nigeria. But it's a new week. Have you a blessed week? See, unlike your pastors and your imams, short. We're done for the week. Enjoy the rest of your week and God bless. Love you all. Oh yeah, and those of you who don't like me, your opinion of me does not matter. Bye.